So this is an insight on aggregate reports. This is only intended for pharmacovigilance professionals who are having at least 2 to 3 years of experience in ICSR case processing. This session is very informative, which gives insight on all the aggregate reports, which will also help you prepare and also attend interviews. At least you will be confident enough to attend the interview, and also you will be able to understand what kind of questions they are asking. So this is a free informative session which I conducted mainly to make people aware that there is some training programs which are available for their career options. So I'm just giving my introduction. I am Dr. Sripadraj Jayar. Many of you already know me, and many of you are already following my LinkedIn. Sorry. Hello. Okay, I was just introducing myself to you. So I have 10 years of experience and I am a consultant, independent consultant. I consult for US and European companies. Mainly, I provide services related to aggregate reports only. I'm not too much keen on ICSR processing because I have done it for quite a few years and I felt there is nothing interesting in ICSR. So I moved on to quality assurance and aggregate reporting. So this is about me. You can check my LinkedIn profile. You will get to know the details. So just wanted to open up with few questions. Many of them had requested for a free training session. And many were asking me, they were calling and asking the same question. So I am going to ask you the same question now. Is your CV good enough to get attention and a call for an interview? So many people told me that they try to attend the interview, but they are not getting calls. They want to attend, but they are not getting calls because mainly the CV does not list out all the core competencies like aggregate reporting. If you are attending any interviews, you need to have at least 30 to 40% match for their job description. Usually what happens is when you apply, it goes through a machine or it goes through a software which will scan all your core competencies and it will take some matching words or keywords and then it will give a result. So after that only you will get calls. But if you don't get calls, you will not be able to attend the interview. So your CV has to be impressive and you will only get calls if you have listed all these skills. So portray yourself in such a way that you will receive calls every. You need to mention all the core competencies which you have, and you also have to be smart enough to mention, do not duplicate the information, just mention core competencies and also mention the explanation in the job description, what you have done exactly in your previous jobs or the current job. So this is the program which I conduct on a regular basis, monthly programs. So registrations are open for monthly program, and our upcoming session on signal detection is going to happen next weekend, Saturday, that is 11th and 12th of December. So those who are interested, they can join. You already have the email address. You can just confirm if you want to join or if you are interested to join. So the last date will be of 7th December. So you can tell your friends this will be the monthly program. So every weekend there will be DSUR, PSUR, PBRER next weekend, and then RMP. So overall 3 sessions. So course contents and everything has been sent to you by email already, I think so. So if you are interested, you can join. There is one more program which I am conducting. This is a draft with me. So you will be drafting the reports each section by section along with me. I will be guiding you with for each and every section. You will have all the documents. I will give you the instructions how to start with the report, and you will do the complete drafting of the report. So anybody, whoever is interested, they can email my team and they will get back to you. So this is our about our programs. So every time I came across many people, they call me and they ask me the same question, that whenever they go for interview, they ask, do you have experience writing a report? Or they will ask you, have you ever drafted a report? So here the tricky question, this is a tricky question because if you say I have done the report, they will ask you how many reports, they will ask you how many sections you have done. So if you lie to them, immediately you will be caught because people know if you have done the reports or not. So for this purpose, I have started this free informative session where I will be teaching you few basics of all the reports so that you can at least say few responses in confidence. So how to respond this question? You need to learn these most important skills. This must be there in your CV. Whenever most of the jobs which are posted out of 100 jobs, 80 to 90% of the jobs mostly will ask about PBRER or PSUR or signal detection or RMP. This is one of the most important and critical skills you need to have in your CV. Also, it will give a at least employers will be happy to know that you have broad areas of expertise. So these are the most important and critical skills which you must know. So we'll just see 5 reports today: DSUR, PSUR, PBRER, Signal, and RMP. So what are the guidance documents I have referred? And I usually referred European guidelines because they are highly organized. You can go to EMA.org, EMA website, European Medicine Agencies. You can go through that and you will find all the GVP modules. There are 16 GVP modules. So each module has a different guideline for different core competencies or the areas. So we have ICH guideline, it is E2F on DSUR. For PSUR, we have GVP module 7. This will be asked in the interview. Usually they will ask in the interview, can you tell me the number? At least you should know the numbers of the GVP modules. 7 is for PBRER. 7 is for PSUR, sorry. PBRER, it is E2C R2 guidelines. And also for FDA, it is the guidance document that is for PBRER. Signal detection, GVP module will be 9, and for RMP, the GVP module is 5. So 5, 7, 9 are very important. So please go through that when you have time to look at the to prepare for the interviews. I have taken important things from these documents and I have given a small presentation so that everybody understands the basic introduction, background, scope, and objectives. Why we have to prepare the report, why we have to submit, what exactly are they looking in the reports. So first we will see the DSUR and PSUR. I just want to check if people have joined. Okay. So let's see what is the DSUR. So DSUR stands for Development Safety Update Report. When we start working on any product, the product goes through different phases of approval. Your product, first it will be ready for clinical trial, then it will go for post-marketing. Once the approval is done, marketing and post-marketing, all through these phases. So the regulatory authorities, they want to know about the safety, efficacy, and also the risk, benefits and risk associated with the product. So when we talk about aggregate reports, these are also called annual reports or periodic reports. In US, they use different terminologies. For European and US, they use interchangeably. They use periodic reporting or annual reporting. So for PBRER, we have PADER, PADER or PAER, which are same. In Europe, it is called PBRER, and in US, they call it as PADER or PAER. The same thing goes for signal detection and also for RMP, risk management plan in Europe, risk mitigation strategy, REMS, risk evaluation mitigation strategy. It is called, RMP is called REMS in US. So all are same. Basically, we give the picture, entire picture of the 1 year or the periodic reporting. What is the period we are reporting? We give in a condensed way what exactly we found out, whether it is benefit, whether risks are more, whether efficacy is there or safety, whether what is related to all this related to drug, whether it is safer to be administered to general population. So first we will see DSUR. This guideline is intended to be a common standard for periodic reporting under development among ICH regions. So ICH, US, Europe, and Japan, all these 3 regions have the same guidelines. So this DSUR should be submitted annually and should also meet national and regional requirements. currently met by US IND annual report and EU annual safety report. So this guideline defines the recommended content and format of a DSUR and provides an outline of points to be considered in its preparation and submission. What is the background of this? Why we need to submit a DSUR? So during the clinical development of a drug, periodic analysis of safety information is very important for the assessment. For the trial subjects mainly, it is also important to inform regulators and other interested parties like ethics committee at regular intervals about the results of such analysis and evaluate safety profile of an investigational drug. So mainly to see what exactly how is the safety, and also if any actions needs to be proposed to address any safety concerns. So if the trial in the trial phase only, if we have a lot of issues, lot of safety concerns, then it will not go to the next phase. They will think about action whether it has to continue the trials or not. So this is the main intention of having a DSUR. Currently, laws and regulations of some ICH countries and regions require submission of periodic report to regulatory authorities to provide this information. So DSUR is submitted annually, both in Europe and US. And also, based on the results, the regulatory authority will instruct or guide the MAH to submit it once in 2 years, or once in 6 months, or once in a year, depending on the product and depending on the safety profile. So to be broadly useful, DSUR should also include this information in addition to safety related information. The harmonization of the content, format, and timing of periodic safety reports will help to ensure the regulators in 3 ICH regions receive a uniform, high quality, comprehensive report. So let's look at the objective. The main objective of the DSUR is to have a comprehensive, thoughtful annual review and evaluation of safety information collected during the reporting period. The reporting period can be 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years. Whatever the reporting period is there, we need to submit the entire data for that period. So here, what and all we need to include? Examining whether the information obtained by the sponsor during the reporting period is in accord with previous knowledge, describing new safety issues that could have an impact on trial subjects, summarizing the current understanding and management of identified and potential risks, providing an update on the status of the clinical investigation or development. A DSUR should be concise and provide information to assure regulators that sponsors are adequately monitoring and evaluating the evolving safety profile of the investigational drug. All safety issues discovered during the reporting period should be discussed in the text of the DSUR. So here mainly mention the status of the clinical trial subjects. What is the whether the trials are conducting, if they are conducted, where it is conducted, how many in which population, how many subjects. So I will show you the format of the report, so you'll be able to understand why we need to what are they exactly expecting from the report. The focus of the DSUR should be on data and findings from interventional clinical trials of drugs and biologicals that are under investigations, whether or not they have a marketing approval. Because clinical development of drug frequently continues following marketing approval, relevant information from post-marketing studies should be included in the DSUR. The DSUR should concentrate primarily on the investigational drug, providing information on comparators only where relevant to the safety of trial subjects. So the DSUR should provide safety information from all ongoing clinical trial and other studies that the sponsor is conducting or has completed during the review period. So sometimes what happens is, whenever you are conducting a trial, there will be some additional trials or additional studies which will be conducted to support or to provide some evidence. So whichever you are doing, if they are undergoing any other trials, you need to disclose in the report. Clinical trials using an investigational drug and clinical trials conducted using marketed drugs in approved conditions, therapeutic use of an investigational drug, and clinical trials conducted to support changes in the manufacturing process of medicinal products. So this is the scope of the DSUR. The DSUR should also include findings pertinent to safety of investigational drugs, mainly observational or epidemiological, non-clinical, related DSURs if applicable, manufacturing or microbiological changes, studies recently published in the literature, clinical trials with results indicating lack of efficacy. This is very important. Any other source of relevant safety findings for products in the same therapeutic class. Clinical trials conducted by a co-development partner if permitted by the contractual agreement. So here we are not only looking at the only our product, we are also looking at the same therapeutic class. If we have calcium channel blockers, if we have same antibiotics of a different class, we are also reporting those relevant safety findings in the DSUR report. So here, this is the format and the template which we need to follow. First will be the title page, then will be the executive summary. Executive summary will have all the details about the report. Just a summary to give a heads up to the regulatory authority so that they get a clear picture of what exactly is the report, whether you have identified any safety concerns or not. So we have introduction, worldwide marketing approval status, action taken, changes to RSI, inventory of clinical. This is what I was just mentioning. Inventory of clinical trials ongoing and completed during the reporting period. Estimated cumulative exposure, cumulative subject, patient, data and line listings, reference information, line listings of serious adverse reactions during the reporting period, cumulative summary tabulations. So we have total 20 sections. So if somebody asks you in interview, how many sections are there in DSUR or PSUR? There are 20 sections each. So you have to go through each and every section. If you want to understand what exactly happens in each and every sections, how to write, and if you have to, if you want to know what exactly to be written in each and every sections, then uh, you need to attend the full paid session. So I will be able to show you the full complete report, how exactly it looks, and commonly asked questions in these in these reports are, they will ask you about what is a data log point. They will also ask about what is the late breaking information. They will also ask about how do you get the data, how do you gather the data and everything. So once you attend the full paid session, you will be able to answer those questions. So for DSUR, this is the template which you need to follow. This is an European template. This is common for US FDA as well as European. You can submit the report, same reports in the same format. So if you look at this, there is only one difference in DSUR and PSUR. This is under section 6.1. Cumulative subject exposure in the development program is here in the DSUR. In PSUR, this section will be replaced by post marketing. When you have how many subjects were exposed during the marketing. So the only difference, major difference in DSUR and PSUR is only the development program will not be there. So now we'll move on to PBRER. The PBRER stands for Periodic Benefit Risk Evaluation Report. Described in this guideline is intended to be a common standard for PBRER reporting. So initially PSUR was accepted. After that, after all these countries came to a common understanding that every time they are submitting PSUR, some information will be asked for benefit risk evaluation ratio. So that is why they made this as a standard. Instead of PSUR, you submit PBRER. So regulators from US, Japan, EU, Japan, and US believe that PBRER may be used to meet prevailing national and regional requirements. Reports for approval medicinal products. This guideline defines the recommended format of a PBRER and provides an outline. So when a new medicinal product is approved for marketing, demonstration of safety and efficacy are generally based on the data from limited number of patients, many studied under controlled conditions. Mainly in clinical trials, the data is limited. So higher risk subgroups and patients with concomitant illness that require use of other drugs are excluded from clinical trials, and long-term treatment data are limited. So in clinical practice, monitoring is less intensive. A broader range of patients are treated, and events too rare to occur in clinical trials may be observed. So the main reason here is due to limited data, due to non-exposure of the people. They are done only in the conditions, in inclusive criteria, exclusive criteria. So we don't know the exact risks involved in the PBRER. So that is why they are saying that you submit PBRER with risk evaluation ratio. These factors underlie the need for continuing analysis of relevant safety, efficacy, and effectiveness throughout the life cycle of the product promptly, as important findings occur and periodically to allow an overall assessment of the accumulating data. So majority of new information will be safety related. New information about effectiveness, limitation of use, alternative treatments, and many other aspects of the drugs placed in therapy may be pertinent to benefit risk assessment. So the guideline E2C guideline, periodic safety reports, achieved step 4 in 1996. This is what just I mentioned. In 1996, it was intended to harmonize the PSUR requirement to regulatory authorities and provide a common format, the worldwide safety experience of a medicinal product at defined times post interval. So at that time, focus on PSUR was on relevant new safety information in the context of patient exposure to determine if changes were needed to the product information. In order to optimize the use of product, the guideline was revised in 2003. So this will be asked in the interview. Why we are using PBRER instead of PSUR? You should be able to tell them that the guideline was revised in 2003 to have a common format and to have a harmonization in all the ICH regions. So pharmacovigilance environment has evolved, however, prompting reassessment of the role of PSUR in spectrum documents submitted to regulatory authorities. Significant progress in technology and science of pharmacovigilance, including electronic submission of ICSR to regulatory authorities, automated data mining techniques, and more attention to benefit risk evaluation. So here they are saying because of all these reasons, we are expecting PBRER instead of PSUR. Overlap in the content of ICH guidelines related to pharmacovigilance documentation, particularly ICH guidelines E2C, the specification, the safety specification component of ICH and E2F DSUR. This is very important. I have marked it as important. A formal evaluation of benefit is a new feature of PBRER. However, it is recognized that a concise discussion of benefit will usually be sufficient unless the safety of benefit risk profile has changed significantly during the reporting interval. The level of detail provided in certain sections of PBRER should be proportional to the medicinal products known or emerging important risk to evidence of emerging important benefits. So the frequency of submission of reports to regulatory authorities is subject to national or regional requirements. So I'll show you what is the format in the next upcoming slides. The PBRER has developed in such a way that the content of particular sections of the report could be identical to that of corresponding sections of other regulatory documents. Mostly they are identical to DSUR. So this is called modular approach. So the contents of these sections of PBRER is suitable for use in other reports also. This is called modular approach. This might be asked in the interview. So if they ask you what is this modular approach, whatever sections you have in PBRER, they can be used for different reports. They can be used for PBRER, DSUR, and safety specific. There are certain reports like clinical study reports. There are other reports also. So you can also use this modular approach and you can copy paste certain sections from PBRER to other reports. So only modules that include new information would need to be updated when submitting the PBRER. This approach is expected to improve efficiency for marketing authorizations and regulatory authorities. So basically they are saying that you have to include only new information. Do not duplicate the information from DSUR and PBRER. Do not give the same information in the same different reports. So whatever is new, you include in the PBRER. So objective of the PBRER is to present a comprehensive and critical analysis, new or emerging information on the risks. Here we will talk about risks of the medicinal product and where pertinent on its benefit in approved indications to enable an appraisal of the product's overall benefit risk profile. The PBRER should be submitted to regulatory authorities and will contain the evaluation of new information, examining whether the information obtained by the MAH during the reporting interval is in accord with previous knowledge, summarizing relevant safety information that could have an impact on benefit risk profile, summarizing any important new efficacy effectiveness information that has become available during the reporting interval. Where important new safety information has emerged, conducting an integrated benefit risk evaluation for approved conditions. So a PBRER should be concise, provide sufficient information to assure regulatory authorities that MAH is adequately monitoring and evaluating the evolving risk profile. All pertinent safety information discovered during the reporting interval should be discussed in the appropriate sections of the PBRER. Urgent safety information should be reported through the appropriate mechanism. The report is not intended to be used to provide initial notification of significant new safety information or to provide the means by which new safety concerns are detected. So here, if you have identified any signals or any new safety concerns, this should not be provided as a report, separate report in the PBRER. This should be discussed in signal detection. So I have kept in order. So once your product is in the development stage, you will submit DSUR or PSUR depending on the requirement. When it is in the marketing, so DSUR is the only report which will be submitted during the pre-marketing phase. So all other reports, PSUR, PBRER, Signal, and RMP will be post-marketing reports. So whenever you are submitting new information, you need to use signal detection and you need to submit all these new safety concerns. So we'll see the format and contents. This is the format for PBRER report. Same: introduction, worldwide marketing authorization status, action taken, changes to RSI, estimated exposure, data in summary tabulations. Here you can see there is no 6.1, 6.2, 6.3. So directly we have seventh section, significant findings from clinical trials, finding from non-interventional, information from other clinical trials and sources, non-clinical data, literature, other periodic reports, lack of efficacy, late breaking, overview of signals. So here in this section, whenever you identify any safety concern, you have to just mention whether you have identified any new or not. If you have identified, you have to mention. There is a section for signal and risk evaluation. So this will not be an entire report. It will be just one section where you will mention whether you have identified any safety concerns. So the most important thing they will ask you in the interview, during interview, is what is the difference between PSUR and PBRER. You need to mention section 17 and section 18. Here you have two additions: benefit evaluation and integrated benefit risk analysis for approved conditions. So finally, you have conclusion and appendices to PBRER. So if you want to learn more about the complete reporting, PBRER, how it is drafted, what are the sections, from where we get the data, please attend the paid session, which is available in this month. So next we will move on to signal detection and management. So first we will understand what is this signal, and then you will understand why we need to learn signal detection and management. So information arising from one or multiple sources, including observations and experiments, which suggests a new potentially causal association or a new aspect of known association between an intervention and an event, or set of related events, either adverse or beneficial, that is just to be of sufficient likelihood to justify verificatory action. So if you are attending any interviews for signal detection, make sure that you read all the information GVP module, because just by reading you will not be able to answer these questions. They will ask particularly for related to how you will evaluate, how you will look at the data, and how are you going to approach the report. So for that you will definitely have to go for a full paid course. So overview: a signal often relates to all medicinal products containing the same active substance, including combination products. Certain signals may only be relevant for particular medicinal product or in a specific indication, strength, pharmaceutical form, or route of administration. whereas some signals may apply to a whole class of medicinal products. Here, signals can be identified only for particular medicinal product or only for specific indication based on only strength, based on the pharmaceutical form or route of administration, and also whole class of medicinal products. So for in Europe, vigilance database is used to find out, or the monitoring the data is done using EV database. What is the process? What is signal management process? A set of activities performed to determine, based on an examination of individual case ICSR, aggregate data from active surveillance systems or studies, scientific literature, other data source. This will be asked in the interview. What are the sources of signal? You should not miss global literature. Literature surveillance is one of the most important part. You have to mention clinical trials, studies, ICSRs, literature, and also journals or any publications or anything on the website, regulatory authorities website. You also have to mention new risk associated with an active substance or a medicinal product, if whether known risks have changed, as well as any related recommendations, decisions, communications, and tracking. So this is basically the signal management process. So we will look at the steps. What do you do in signal management? Basically, we have 6 steps. Usually companies, all clients do not give complete reports to one CRO or a BPO or a consulting firm. They usually give in bit by bit. So either they give literature surveillance as an activity, or they will give ICSR evaluation as an activity, or they give some other activities. They usually give in bit by bit, so that people who are working on the reports, they do their job perfectly, not missing any information. So if you are doing bit by bit, it is one of the drawback where people don't understand what exactly they are contributing to the report. They will just see that just copying and pasting is the job of signal detection. That is not the case. Overall picture you should know. If you have to know the overall picture, you have to draft the complete report starting from the scratch. You have to draft the full report, then only you will be able to understand, then only you will be able to become a master of signal detection. So the steps here in the EU signal management process, we have these steps. First is the detection, then is the validation, then is the assessment, analysis and prioritization, recommendation for action, and exchange of information. So first we will do the detection. First we will keep on evaluating all the ICSRs, literature and everything, all the data. Then we will validate whether it is a signal or not. If it is a signal, we'll do the assessment. And then if the assessment says that it is a signal, then we will do the analysis and prioritization. Then if it is really a signal, then we'll recommend some action, whether it will be a pharmacovigilance monitoring, or whether it is really causing problem to the public population, if any withdrawal is required, the withdrawal of the drug is required, or whether whole batch or the drugs have to be recalled or they need to be destroyed. So any action can be recommended by the regulatory authorities. Finally, it will be the exchange of information with the EU EMA agency, whether it is all this whatever is recommended has been implemented or not. So these are the basic steps, signal detection and management. So you have to by heart the steps if you are attending signal interview: detection, validation, assessment, analysis and prioritization, recommendation for action, exchange of information. So what are the sources? Signals can arise from wide variety of data sources, potentially from all scientific information, use of medicinal products and outcome of use, that is non-clinical, clinical data. Common sources for signal detection include spontaneous reporting systems, active surveillance systems, studies, scientific literature reporting, and some other data. Wherever you come across, these are all the sources. So this will be asked in the interview. Signal detection is often based on periodic monitoring of databases of suspected PSURs, basically, which can vary in size or remit. Example: MAH databases, national databases, Vigilance, the database of WHO program, that is Vigibase, This module's focus is mainly on signal originating from monitoring of data from spontaneous reporting systems. However, all relevant sources should be considered during signal management. So when you start writing the report, you need to gather the data first, and then you start with the evaluation. So what is the methodology we use? Whenever we do signal detection, we should follow certain methodology that should be mentioned in the report. So what is the data? So nature of data and the characteristics. So how are you getting the data? Based on the market exposure, patient exposure, target population, type of medicinal product, whether it is a vaccine or some other drug, or is it a medical device? What is the type of medicine product? And data from all appropriate sources should be considered for clinical judgment. Signal detection may involve the same thing. This is a very important question. They will be asking you in the interview. So how do what do you do in signal detection? So you have to mention that it will be a review of ICSR, statistical analysis, or combination of both, depending on the size of the data set. When it is not relevant or feasible to assess each individual case, signals detected from published studies, healthcare, assessment of aggregate data should be considered. Signal detection process should be adequately documented by each organization. So here, whenever you start with signal detection, you need to mention how you are going to get the data, from where you are gathering the data, what are the references you are taking, which websites you are referring, and once you have gathered all the data, you also have to mention in the report regarding where you have referenced. All these things should be mentioned in the appendices of the report. So literature, everything should have references from where you have gathered the data. So finally, coming to risk management plan. So this is same as REMS, REMS, we call REMS. It is the similar or the counterpart of US FDA. So they call it as REMS. In Europe, we call it as risk management plan. So a medicinal product is authorized on the basis that in the specified indication at the time of authorization, the risk benefit balance is judged to be positive for the target population. Generally, a medicinal product will be associated with adverse reaction, and these will vary in terms of severity, likelihood of occurrence, effect on individual patients, and public health impact. However, not all adverse reactions and risk will have identified at the time when an initial marketing authorization is granted, and some will only be discovered and characterized in the post-authorization phase. This is the main reason why we need to keep on monitoring. Once it is under clinical trial stage, we will keep monitoring for DSUR. When it is in the pre-market, when it is in the market or post-authorization phase, we keep on monitoring regularly to identify if there are any risks. So this is what is the this is about RMP. So what is the main objective, aim and objective of the RMP is to document the risk management system considered necessary to identify, characterize and minimize medicinal products important risks. So here in RMP deals with, so just to let you know, different report has different objectives, scope and purpose. All three reports or all five reports are not same. They are not one and the same. Many people say that they are all same, but they are not same. Their reporting period is different. Their format is different. The way it is presented is different. For each report, it is a different way of presentation. So they are not same, but they are interrelated. Whatever signal you have identified, it will be mentioned in the PSUR. So even whatever you have mentioned in the RMP, it will be mentioned in the signal detection report. So all three are correlated, interrelated, but they are not same. So to document the risk management system, here in RMP, we talk mainly, we deal with the risks. How do we characterize the risk? How do we minimize? What are the types of risks? So we have four types of risk. I will show you in the next slide. The identification and characterization of safety profile of the medicinal product with emphasis on important identified, important potential, missing information, and also on which safety concerns need to be managed proactively. So RMP should focus on mainly on important identified, important potential, what is missing information, and also on safety concerns. So the other aim and objective is planning of PV activities to characterize and quantify clinically relevant risks and to identify new adverse reactions. That is the PV plan. So whenever you are attending the interview, they will ask you what are the parts of RMP. I will show you what are the parts of RMP, but you should remember that you will focus on important potential, important identified risks. You will have a PV plan, and also you will have risk minimization plan. So RMP stands for risk management plan, not risk minimization plan. The planning and implementation of risk minimization measures, including the evaluation of the effectiveness of these activities. As knowledge regarding medicinal product safety increases over time, so will the risk management plan change. So basically asked in the interview, what are the parts and modules in the RMP? We have 7 parts and 8 modules in RMP. So you can see part 1, part 2, part 3, part 4, part 5, 6, 7. These are the sections. And in part 2, we have 8 modules. So all these will be taught in the RMP when you join the full course in 4 hours. I will be showing you the original report, how it looks, how to draft, where you get the data for all these sections. So product overview, safety specification, how to identify and characterize the potential risks. All these things will be taught. So these are the parts and modules. Next will be the types of risk, which I told you. There are 4 types of risk. RMP should focus on those risks that are relevant for risk management, risks that are undesirable clinical outcomes for which there is identified risk, potential risk, important identified risk, and important potential risk. So we are categorizing risk into 4 types. So this is what they will ask you in interview, that are undesirable outcome. Then this is just for your understanding. I have made this slide. Identified is undesirable clinical outcome for which there is scientific evidence. Potential risk is undesirable clinical outcome for which there is scientific evidence to suspect the possibility of causal relationship. Important identified is likely to have an impact on risk benefit balance of the product. Here it is likely to have an impact in the important identified. Important potential risk is or those when further characterized and if confirmed would have an impact on risk benefit balance of the medicine product. So RMP should focus on these 4 risks. This is basically about RMP. So we will not deal here with ICSRs and all this. We will not be talking, the format is entirely different. So this is about the RMP 4 risks. So if you are interested to join our upcoming session, you will be sent an email. So registrations are open. Last day for the payment is on 7th. Anybody is interested, they can send an email. And I think it's almost 5:31. So if anybody has question, I will take 1 or 2 questions if you have.